Welcome, everyone. Look, if you're a creative entrepreneur or a maker who's finally ready to turn those incredible handmade skills into a profitable, thriving business, you are in the exact right place. Welcome to this explainer. So many creative people already possess literally the most difficult skill out there, the ability to make something truly valuable with their own hands. But as you probably already know, translating that artistic talent into a structured, functioning brand is a completely different beast. So today, we're getting right to the heart of how to do exactly that in today's market.
Okay, let's dive into this. If making the product is the hardest part to learn, why on earth do so many incredibly talented makers struggle to keep their doors open? Well, the truth is the real hurdle isn't the craft itself. The hurdle is turning that manual skill into a repeatable, profitable operation without completely burning themselves out in the process. We see it all the time, right? Creators who have amazing products but lack a clear structure for reliable pricing, consistent marketing, and turning one-time buyers into loyal returning customers. You definitely don't need a massive studio or expensive equipment to succeed, but you absolutely do need a system. And that system is exactly what we are going to build today. This explainer is essentially a chronological blueprint. We'll cover finding your profitable niche, calculating a sustainable price, building your brand identity, marketing to find those first customers, and finally, scaling smartly using modern creator tools.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Finding Your Profitable Niche.
The very first thing we need to acknowledge is that deciding to sell generic handmade products is simply way too broad for a new business. If you try to appeal to everyone, you usually end up appealing to no one. You've got to solve a specific need for a clearly defined customer. But wait, before you go out and buy a massive bulk order of materials, you absolutely must validate that demand. Listen to the questions people actually ask at local craft fairs or in your social media comments. Things like, can this be customized? Or can I order this as a gift? These questions are pure gold. They tell you exactly what customers value and what crucial information your future product page needs to include. Listening to these questions is how you avoid spending money on inventory that nobody actually wants.
Once you've validated that demand, it's time to actually make your first items. Please avoid the temptation to launch with 30 completely unrelated products. Instead, you want to build a small, highly practical test collection. Just one hero product, 2 entry-level products, 1 premium option, and a gift set. So, for example, if you're starting a handmade candle brand, you might launch with just 3 beautiful scents, 2 sizes, and 1 seasonal gift box. That's it. This keeps your inventory manageable, it makes photography a breeze, and most importantly, it makes it so much easier to learn what works from real buyers without getting totally overwhelmed.
So, the crucial point is Section 2. Calculate a sustainable price.
Pricing is arguably the single biggest trap for new makers. It is absolutely heartbreaking to see a talented creator working for basically $0 an hour just because they only charge their customer for the raw materials they used. We've probably all been there, but that is the amateur pricing model. The pro pricing formula ensures that all those sneaky hidden costs are accounted for. And the biggest hidden cost? Your own labor time. That includes designing the item, sourcing materials, quality checks, taking photos, packing the box, and emailing the customer. If it takes you 2 hours to make something and you price it like it took 20 minutes, you are on a fast track to burnout.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how quickly these actual costs stack up. Let's break down a real-world example here. Your raw materials might only cost $12. Not bad, right? But once we add $3 for packaging, pay ourselves a fair labor rate of $18, allocate $5 for overhead, and account for $4 in selling fees, our total base cost to produce this single item jumps to $42. And here's the kicker. That $42 is literally just your break-even point. That does not include a single dime of profit. To be a real sustainable business, you have to add a profit margin on top of that base cost. So for that $42 item, your target retail price should realistically sit right here, between $52 and $58. Landing in this range is what leaves you room for future materials, inevitable mistakes, potential discounts, returns, and the actual capital you need to grow your business over time.
Moving right along, we have Section 3, Build Your Brand Identity.
A lot of makers get really intimidated by the word branding because they assume it requires hiring an expensive graphic designer. But a strong brand isn't necessarily expensive. It just needs to be an intentional, highly consistent feeling that customers associate with you. To create that feeling, you really only need to make 5 core decisions: an easy-to-remember brand name, a simple visual direction like a small color palette and 2 fonts, a clear brand promise, a defined tone of voice, and, my personal favorite, a signature detail. Honestly, never underestimate the power of a signature detail. It can be something as affordable as a specific way you tie a ribbon, a recognizable wrapping style, or just a handwritten message card. That consistency is what makes you memorable.
The culmination of those decisions should be a crystal clear brand story. Think about it. Compare someone casually saying, "I love creativity, so I make art," to this, "I create hand-painted keepsakes that help families preserve meaningful memories." Wow, right? That is highly specific, it's distinctive, and it immediately connects emotionally with a buyer who's looking for a special gift. Your brand story needs to explain what makes your process special and why customers should choose you over some mass-produced alternative from a big-buck store.
Now that you have a product, a price, and a brand, we enter Section 4, Market and Find Customers.
Let's clarify our go-to-market strategy here. Marketing doesn't mean just posting random photos and praying someone clicks buy. True marketing means repeatedly showing people what you make, explaining why it matters, and making it incredibly easy to purchase. To do that without losing your mind, build a simple weekly plan around 4 content pillars: product content, process content, educational content, and trust content. I highly recommend leaning into process content. Behind-the-scenes, short-form video works incredibly well right now, especially for visually satisfying craft processes. Show people the magical transformation from raw materials to a finished, polished product. Let them see your hands at work.
When it comes to actually asking for the sale, especially with your very first customers, avoid those desperate-sounding generic, "please buy from me" messages. Instead, offer a small, valuable launch perk. Things like free personalization, premium gift packaging, or early access to a new collection are fantastic incentives. They drive sales naturally without cheapening your brand, with permanent discount codes that just train people to wait for a sale.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 5, Scale with Creator Tools.
So once you have a reliable sales process going, you don't just want to blindly accept more physical orders than you can realistically fulfill. That is a guaranteed recipe for disaster and burnout. One of the absolute best ways to scale intelligently in 2026 is by contrasting traditional physical sales with modern digital value streams. You got your physical products, direct sales and wholesale, which sure, take time and raw materials. But then you have this incredible digital engine, tutorials, exclusive content, and subscriptions. If your audience loves watching your creative process as much as they love the finished item, this is a massive opportunity to diversify your income without spending extra hours in the studio.
A brilliant way to actually execute this is through platforms like EarnOn. Makers can leverage EarnOn to monetize their actual creative process. You can host live making sessions, offer pay-per-view tutorials for your more complex techniques, and get direct community support right alongside your physical product sales. Think of it as an extension of your business. You might post a free, quick video of your craft on social media to grab attention, but then offer a detailed, exclusive workshop on EarnOn for your paying supporters. It is a fantastic dual-engine approach to running a modern craft brand.
And finally, we arrive at the 30-day launch plan. And this brilliantly illustrates everything we've talked about today. To bring all of this together, let's look at a highly actionable timeline to get your business off the ground and into the real world. This whole process becomes entirely manageable when you just break it down into a 4-week progression. Week 1 is all about choosing your niche and validating that demand. Week 2 is making those samples and calculating your pricing. Week 3, you finalize that brand identity, take photos, and prepare your shop policies. And Week 4, you launch, collect feedback, and learn. I want to reassure any beginners watching this, executing a small, well-organized launch like this over 30 days will teach you infinitely more than spending 6 months over-planning in secret without ever getting real customer feedback. So I want to leave you with this question. You already have the creative talent. Honestly, that's the hardest part. The roadmap for 2026 is right here in front of you. What will your first focused collection be? It is time to stop planning and start making. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see what you create.